Islam. We back. Part 4 of Black Room. See if we can get an understanding. So let's go back to ancient, historical, biblical Jerusalem, which we can correlate with. Like that. We can correlate with America today. Under Roman rule, West Palestine under Roman rule. Um, and this right here is dealing with the Moorish American or the Moorish Judean in those times under Roman rule, dealing with taxes. And watch how he deal with the publican or the tax collector or the IRS. That's why in the Moorish Science Temple, just like of America, just like the Moorish Science Temple of Egypt in those times, his mother got the science to feed to her son. So like we talked about in the last video, we're gonna show you how this talking about us today, and how he deal with taxes. And next we're gonna deal with how he deal with representing one of the people in a court case as a friend of the court or Alfomar, which they used to call in Andalusia, Cadiz, the Alfomar been basically alpha male at that time. They've been the learned men who would um, assist people in court, who can like probably defend us. And we're gonna see how he deal with that case without using Roman understanding of what law is and using the Mother Holy Breath that teach us what's right and wrong, the law that's written on our heart, without using these legal terms that they use a lot of the times out of context. Show you how to think with your heart. And the next one, and this one right here, he also does it that way. So we're gonna see how he do it in his dark pattern, and how it helps. He say, as Jesus and the 12 men rested in the house, the tax collector came to Peter, saying, "Man, do Jesus and yourself pay this half shekel tax?" And Peter said, "We pay whatever is assessed." And Jesus said, "From whom do publicans," that's the tax collectors, "collect the special tax? From strangers or from native sons?" So he already saying he indigenous to the land. And Peter said, "The strangers only supposed to pay this tax." Then Jesus said, we all are native sons, and we are free." So basically, he telling them his nationality, like us today, we Moorish Americans, that's our land, and this tax is for strangers. But he said, "By lest we cause contention, we will pay the tax." So he know he under Roman rule, and Rome got the gun, and his people ain't in position to fight Rome. So in order to keep peace, he understand the signs of peace, Islamism, and he keep the peace after, but he still confess his truth. We knew we are the native sons and we free, but if that gonna cause contention, we gonna pay this tax. And then he paid it, show him how to get the fish to pay the tax, and he paid. But it's a good lesson to teach. It's the same situation as today. Our own people would look at a Moorish American and say, "Well, what makes you so special that you don't gotta pay the tax?" Because they can add a million taxes for a stranger, and then to try to apply that to the native sons, that's oppression. Because the law of admiralty in the law of nation applies, and he hit them with what a law of nationality is. As native sons, we are free. Um, I could use another movie reference, well, a show called Six Flying Dragons. And in the show, he acts they've been setting up a kingdom and overthrowing the whole, which we're not doing. But in that show, they've been overthrowing the oppressing kingdom, and the person who been setting it up on paper, he been using the general of an army since the general been native to that land, and his son. So the son asks him why you pick him and his father, and he said because being a native to the land, you are a sovereign. So basically, we come the same way, but we come to fulfill the law, not change it, because it is our ancestor law, built into the system, just like hers. He know the law based off the true law by Rome trying to charge them when they know for a fact that they don't supposed to. Say it's supposed to be for strangers. The strangers only are supposed to pay this tax, which is corporations and the business of foreigners. So that's why also when you see Moorish Americans using the nationality card in the store and they don't pay the tax, that's what this law is. This is ancient and they still modern because we in Rome. We in Western Palestine under Roman rule. But you can say America is the same thing. It would be Moorish Americans, he'll be Moorish Jerusalem. I mean, Judean in his time because he's been in that kingdom under Roman rule. So let's go to another cold case. You can see how he deal with that, but he gonna deal with it as a abogado judge and an alfamar a public defender, defended, basically in the appeal. But this is what we were trying to say when this is religion, this is true religion. This is you living it, understanding who you was, especially historically, and living the way. Instead of being like people you got right now, the organized popular religions, most of that is illusions because they just speaking it by who walking around with this knowledge and living it. So a multitude of people thronged the streets. Officers were on the way to court with one, a man accused of stealing bread. And in a little while, the man was brought before the judge to answer to the charge. And Jesus and the 12 were there. The man showed in his face and hand and hard drawn lines of toil and want. So he'd be like a worn out guy, like a bum, what we would call. So that right there is also signs to show that how today people get treated different based off how much money or wealth or that is an illusion. And you can see how we supposed to treat them. I say a woman richly clad, you see, different understandings, rich, poor. The accuser of the man, the prosecutor, stood forth and said, I caught this man myself, and I know him well, for yesterday he came to beg for bread, and when I drove him from my door, he should have known that I would harbor not a man like him. And then today he came and took the bread. He is a thief, and I demand that he be sent to jail. The servants also testified against the man. He was a judge, a thief, and officers will lead him away. But Jesus standing forth exclaimed, you officers and judge, but not enhanced to lead this man away. Be not enhanced to lead this man away. Is this a land of justice? So we got love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice now, but to do this without the name. Like you would see Moors talking about these things, but that's just like the other religions that they talk about these things. But you gotta internalize this and love this your daily. And this he give you example of how all over the place in this surface here. In this land of justice and of right, this a land of justice and of right. So we know what's right or wrong from our mothers and fathers teach us these. We're gonna act like we ain't learned this unless you were raised right. So he got the science from Mary. He said, um, he asked them and asked a lot of questions. Don't act like you know, because we watch a lot of TV and Rome teach us things that not is not necessarily right. So ask questions and let them tell you, because you know you've been raised right. Talk from your heart. Say, can you accuse and sentence men to punishment for any crime until they testify themselves? So this due process, lack of due process they give him because he been poor. The Roman law will not permit, see, talking about the Roman law, so that's what we do. They'll tell them what the Constitution tells them. Since they want to act like that's their forefathers, well, you're going to honor your forefathers today. We're going to hold you to your law, quote unquote, your law. Because the Roman law been more converted. So he bring them back to the original when he got control of the kingdom. So the Roman law will not permit such travesty on right, and I demand that you permit this man to speak. And then the judge recalled the man and said, if you have any tale to tell, say on. So he get that request done. Now the man get to come back and speak. But there's a lot of us every day who really ain't guilty of a crime getting hauled off to jail because we don't got this understanding of law. We got like I said, you watch a lot of TV and they give us courtroom videos and shows. Our whole life we think, okay, yeah, that's the way things is. So mothers and fathers let Rome haul their son off to jail every day and don't question nothing. And we be trying to tell you enforce the Constitution. That means bring the truth out of Roman law, because they hauling you off using codes and not the essence of law, what's right and what's wrong, what's justice. If this the land of the justice, all right, then you're gonna do that, not nothing else. So he called the man back to talk. In tears, the man stood forth and said, I have a wife and little ones, and they are perishing for bread. And I have told my story often and begged for bread, but none would hear. This morning, when I left our cheerless hut in search of work, my children cried for bread, and I resolved to feed them or to die. I took the bread and I appealed to Allah. Was it a crime? So again, you see, we got our, the God name using Allah, and we talking about Jesus. So we already now got two of the popularized versions in our version, and we showing you how modern day just every young Moor who full of presence, not every, because some of us are guilty, but a lot of us ain't guilty of real law, but we turn our back on our mothers and fathers law, which is simple, right and wrong. We all know what that is. So a lot of people, they put away in society in cages. A lot of him persecuting them, and this man persecuting him for this, what he doing for to feed his family. But they really good people in heart. They stole the children of Allah in heart, and he about to remind the Romans, the black Romans and the white Romans who think in Washington D.C. He about to remind them of this. Same thing we do. People think we trying to We try not to follow the laws of the United States. They say that all the time about Moors. They try to say we don't want to pay taxes, we don't follow laws. But we got the true law. We kind of bring it back to the Romans because they apparently ain't working. Country falling apart quick. So, so the man asked him, "Was it a crime to feed his children?" They saying the crime was death. He asking if he a crime to feed his children. See, this woman snatched the loaf away and threw it to the dogs and called the officer, and I am here. Good people, do with me what you will, but save my wife and little ones from death. Then Jesus said, who is the culprit in this case? I charge this woman as a felon in the sight of Allah, because we only look at in the sight of man, we only look at things through carnal eyes, earthly carnal eyes. Not with our heart no more. Not with our inner sight. Because we looking at it, okay, he steal the bread. That's it. Throw him away. not knowing the man's situation like you would have, and he been trying to tell the time. So he said, I charge the judge as criminal before the bar, al-bar, we'll talk about that later, of human rights. So not civil rights, human rights, nationality, and birthrights. That's what the judges be criminal against. I see it all the time. Every time they call you black, that's what they criminal of, okay? I charge these servants and these officers as parties to the crime. I charge the people of Capernaum, that's what his mama lived at, he going there even at the time, with cruelty and death, because they heeded not the cries of poverty and want, and have withheld from helpless ones that which is theirs by every law of right. So he rebuked everybody in that town, because this man, see, he been telling everybody that he begging for food, basically asking for a piece of bread, and they all ain't listen to him. And then he tried to persecute him, and now he put the law back on them and charged all of them with crimes. So that's being a public defender for him. And these his words. He ain't using none of the Roman canons. He ain't using none of that. He talking from the heart. Like, he listened to this story, and now he about to tell them about themselves. That's the same way my little cousin, when I tell him, when he been dealing with his kids, I tell him, fire that lawyer, because you got to go back to the ancient maxims and ask these simple questions. You're going to find out that these people using these Admiralty commercial codes and stuff, and if you play along with that, you're going to end up be sitting in the jail wondering what you did. But if you ask this simple question like a child would do, who don't got all that in their head, they still pure at heart, you'll have a better outcome. And he out here right now smiling. So basically, a higher self is just the simple things that our mother been giving us. Either we listen or we didn't. He said, and I appeal, so he could be an appellate for this person unto these people here, and acts, are not my charges based on righteousness and truth? So that's the question for everybody who just heard the story. Are her charges not based on righteousness and truth? It's not their charges, but her charges. And every man said yes. The accused woman blushed for shame. The judge shrank back in fear. The officer threw off the shackles from the man and ran away. Then Jesus said, give this man what he needs and let him go and feed his wife and little ones. The people gave abundantly. The man went on his way. And Jesus said, there is no standard law to judge of crime. So standard law is how they're using codes and strict laws against people when they just can listen to people and talk Talk to the parties and see what's going on. That's a true judge. That's an honorable judge. That's why they call him honorable. The fact must all be stated. Every a judge can be rendered in a case. So let the facts be laid before you haul people off. You men with hearts, go forth and stand with this man and answer me. What would you do? Put yourself in man's shoes, and would you go get that bread, or would you not get that bread? The way he get them. So society, man shouldn't have to go and do all that in the kingdom of Allah, where people living right, because they would have been getting the bread, and his family would have been straight, because they all were looking out for each other in the community, in that kingdom. But when you ain't in that kingdom, you in Rome. Death is death. Rich and poor, those things matter at Rome. Priesthood. In this way, hey, we telling you your own priest. And we use two different ideology of religion, of your understandings of religion, by using Jesus as a name. All these are just teachings in story form. They're supposed to be understood by 6 years old and 7 years old before going out to the world with that cape on, ready to master whatever they like to do, to create kingdoms. But we just sitting around reading these and amen and not getting understanding. What's different from that in the other popular religions? Might as well go join. But some of those things are good, because it curbs some of the bad things that we do, that we all know is wrong and bad, murder, theft, and stuff. But he gave us these sciences to understand, so we can be our own priests. So you won't get caught up and be lorded over with people who not giving you the true understanding, putting the crown on your own head. A man who judges harshly is the man whose heart is full of crime. Talking about the judge, every judge. You know how many judges that we go through, like we get judged harshly. So we talking about us in these times, as in Jerusalem. So we go through this, but we ain't putting it on their head, telling these people, listen, we already know in our Lord, we know a man who judges harshly is a man whose heart is full of crimes, guilty himself of crimes. The courtesan who keeps her wickedness concealed by what she calls respectability has not a word of pity for the honest courtesan who claims to be just what she is. That's a more game. Why you just shouldn't be pointing fingers at the outward versions of these things, because a lot of times it be the hypocrites who point that finger. I tell you, men, if you would censor not till you are free from sin, the world would seem forget the meaning of the word accused. So he ain't it right there. Give them some more lessons. But when people see on the news articles and news stories about Moorish Americans, they ain't being that themselves. When you ask them who they is, they being something else. So they can't tell you about who these people is called Moorish Americans, but we could, because we is this. And you can go in our books and get who he is, which is love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So you can go crazy trying to find something wrong with it. You're going to learn that you ain't living these lessons, most likely. Because that's for man itself, the sons of man, to rise up. Only the one with the eyes can be able to see it at the end of the day. See, the one who attains the victory over self is the sons and daughters of Allah by faith, not over other men, over self. Or your heart, like, say, and he who speaks to you has overcome, and he is son of Allah, because he is the pattern of the sons and daughters of man. So that's all Noble Charlie, Muhammad, every prophet, not even every prophet, every person you learn something good from as a pattern for to teach man good. To say sons and daughters, sons and daughters, sons and daughters. See, in our book we put son and daughter. In our prayer, we see our Father and our Mother God who art in heaven. So you know, it's ours. Like this Moorish American, the Archangel, the L, and has been looking at some of it on this page right here. L's and B's and other things too that we our ancestors. So you see. Everybody mama naming them these names. And we call them everything except for the sons of God, sons and daughters of Allah. Call them everything except for a child of God, right? But my last 4 videos, I'm calling you a child of God when I say or more. It's L's. That's why he tell us to put L, just put L on our name, because we are the sons and daughters of Allah. And he give us the lessons to go through as a family and love it, because they've been taken out of our households. And these the Yahs, you know, everybody got names like this. Maria. We got B, Lord. We got other stuff too. All history. And mean righteous. Everybody tell us things like that. All the popular religion, the priests are telling us these things. We don't care what they say, because we got true religion. We got Islamism. We study it all and teach our children the truth. History and law. All these Moorish Americans, they're angels in the past and the future and the present. Melky, that milk, MLC, MLK. You see that? And they put all this on the same page because they're thinking in the same way I think about it. It's one ancient empire that's infinite. And when it's not realized and manifested on earth, then we see man in a bad state, like earth today, when this kingdom of Allah ain't manifested. Gotta keep coming back and teaching man how to manifest the city all over again. Make it converted from wrong. See MB, that Egyptian MB, noble. Everybody taking pieces and parts of it, and we trying to tell people this is a planetary. This for humanity, including the Americas, especially. That's where a lot of these people at now. Red Cape Gang, they call them. See, the sun is the father and the son at the same time. This make the flowers grow. Mother Earth. and Mary does represent Joseph sperm that can create the sons and daughters because the sperm is already androgynous and it becomes split into two. It's like the science. And it's the religion that the priests they want to tell you all kind of crazy shit, but it's simple. And he got the light, you know that, and he's slaying his lower self. The one who conquers self as the son and daughter of God, Allah. So the son and the daughter, the moon and the sun, and the mother and the father also. You know, we need the life force or the sperm, and we create the son or the daughter with the soil, with a tree on earth or wherever pregnant woman womb. Right, that's split into two. So the one split into two. So we don't got this controversy in Moorish American knowledge. We don't got the controversy of who's God, the man or the woman. Like I see those controversies going on in the world. You don't see us having holy wars like other popular religions. You really even see us calling it a religion. We'll tell you that it's not a religion. It's the old religion that other religions became. The science of it. You see, he got justice. He brings justice. Either you us working with the heart or you ain't. And as a nation, we ain't working with the heart. We are way too much. It's too easy to kill each other. When we look in the mirror, you looking at God. When we look at each other, we looking at God. In the image, Elohim, the angels. So it shouldn't be easy to kill another angel. But it's easy now because of the spirituality Rome sucking out us with these movies and shit. These weird shit they got on TV. So that's why he bringing us for the children so Rome wouldn't be able to do that to them. They get the understanding like this. So Red Cape Gang. This means he's a noble. Got knowledge. Knowledge is a very important thing to us. To gain all knowledge. They make it that our kids don't even want to read. If we saying stuff like that book too big, that's boring. I mean, something happened at a young age to make that boring and make something else fun. See, I think about my own life too to understand this. Because you're going to look in Wikipedia at the Moors and Andalusia, especially, and Morocco and West Africa, Ghana, and you look at a lot of them, they had like 5 or 6 different things they did. Science, math, history, like different categories. Like you gotta have a mind state to have that much interest in knowledge as it just knowledge, period. The love of learning. Like a sport. Like you got Michael Jordans, you had Michael Jordans in different categories, botany. And we had a lot even in America a lot of the inventions and the so I was watching the cars and stuff like that. Still been going on at that time. Still going on now. They still Rome taking them kids and they putting them in their colleges for their benefit. But it should be rampant if we get these lessons in our household. You see the Red Cape Gang, he been working, he had the understanding. And man on the Book of Eli, I want that so he could rule over the people but in his way. And they wouldn't have been too much. They wouldn't like that too much. Got the Red Cape. So even in America, these love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, the ancient. The same thing he put in chapter 7, we just going through the ancient Canaanite. That's what these are saying, right? Hittites, Hamites, Carthaginians, Phoenicians, Moors. You find all that in the Moor section. And we can see how he give us these terms. Marcus Garvey's also coming too and bring the term Africa back and the certain pride back. He give us, you can't give a baby a steak. You'll kill that baby try to feed a baby a steak. So you have to come and bring a lot of the pride back before the detail. You can't come and teach the baby calculus. You got to teach them arithmetic first. So right now, like when I can see Africa and know that I'm talking about the whole world. Just like the Afrocentric who will say Africa diaspora, I can come eye to eye with him and show him that in history, how that go back to the ancient times and how that's been called Mexican before Africa. This understanding of the world empire that we had. So Cape Gang. You see the red flag right there. You see the red and white stripe that I talked about in the last video, like the barber shop by Barria. You see, Noble Charlie got that just like that. Like, I be wondering, like, we had these pins back then or something. What the fuck? And you see, they holding up America, continent. That's the title to a state. That's what this is. This is a title to the continent. These are all Moorish. The Red Cape Gang. And you can see he meditating, dealing with the science of the higher self, just like a Buddha. So I'm going through 3 religions. I'm going through Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism. The popular version of that, and I use all those things without even being a member of any mosque, church, Buddhist temple. See what I'm saying? So we natural with it. We telling you the truth. You see the long gun again. I mean the long tobacco, just like in North America, but the paintings. So I say he can be in North America just like them other paintings. Show us the other paintings with the popularized version of how Indians should look. But this marriage, I look like North Carolina or South Carolina or something. You got the long gun, the tomahawk. Same thing, just like on the other side, on our side, right? And the Red Cape Gang, so that he know. You got a Nubia connecting us Africa everywhere. You got Red Cape Gang, you got the turbans on. Lord knows what is that. This could be in Virginia, 1560. For all we know. But you see, you got that same thing like the Seminole chief had. His white. But you got the same thing. You got Red Kid too. Red Kid Gang. You know. That's what they turned. They can't get him back out because he got the science that he get from the Holy Mother. His mama had science, and he passed she passed it down to him. And when they break that science, when they break her, that's when he mess up the households. See, Red Cape Gang, same little thing, just like you can see in the last few pins. See, the Afro Brazilian Museum. Let me see. They got their red shit hanging on the side just to let you know the science is. Ain't no way we want to connect this thing, ain't no way to pay attention to this thing, but we. Because they ain't want to confess their faith, they won't confess the truth. A lot of people scared to confess this truth because they get slack when people, for some reason, the term more got power for some reason because That's when everybody start going crazy when they hear that. And that's why, as Moorish Americans, we fearless when we confess our faith in the highest courts. We're willing to look the judge in the eye and tell him nice and more. No matter what cross they got with my name on them, you're gonna see that's what they did at those times to the Moroccans. They had noose, cross, now they got guns for the Moors. Especially the ones who in their highest self. A lot of those slave revolts that they make up histories and stories for been basically some of the most stolen knowing the ancient science and not having a foreign god in the subconscious. And when coming to that town or whatever and spreading that gospel to the people who've been under Roman rule, under conversion, and waking up the colony, and they call that slave revolts in our history. It's got the Adamites in North Africa, Sikh in North Africa, but they've been some of the ones who've been understanding the original understanding of the science for Rome. So they persecute them like, oh hell no, don't tell them. They say they call it the paradises, which is over here you see a lot of words got powder, like Peru. So they know people who coming out the jungles of some way. And he spread throughout France, Germany, Bohemia, Moravia. But they, as you say, every Adamite claim a spirit who cleanses him from sin. They reject sacraments and worship. So they just like Moorish Americans. They had, the Moorish American had the animal spirits and stuff like that. It was spiritual, and they ain't really got the sacraments and the worships like we got today. A lot of us turn away from the church or mosque because the way the priesthood now got a lot of these things messed up. So in a place that we really go to like that, but these humans just like us, they still expect a savior. But what the problem is, we still expect that too, but we don't know what that is. And you see what they say that is a Moroccan. So just like Dojo Ali said, the sons of and daughters of God is Moroccan or more in his higher self. You your own savior. You as the savior. And these people waiting for you, and you waiting for yourself without knowing that. In America, North America today. Especially the ones who they call black people. Like my family and me and whoever, we ain't never going to church. Only like few people in our family really go to church and stuff. And we still get lessons that I can go in the Bible or the Quran or the Torah and find in it because we get news lessons through the Mother Holy Breath, raised right. So Noble Drew Ali give us a way so we won't have to go through these precepts. Not saying don't go to the mosque or whatever, and just know the reality of it is how you live, not the outward things that you showing everybody that you praying. You got your your typical outfits, and that's fellowshipping. That's what we should be doing too, brothers and sisterhoods. But we gotta get back to the truth of the matter, is the essence of it. Because apparently it ain't working. We had these things here for a long time, and we still out here doing crazy shit. These are our children. All the people in the black Muslims, all the black Christians, these your children out here that we talking about doing this and doing that. So who got Rome got control? Rome got the responsibility for them, or you? As Moorish Americans, we claiming all these people and try to just give them the truth. ain't gotta sign up to my church and nothing like that. Like telling you in these videos, the name Muhammad means praiseworthy. Your grandmama and your granddaddy becomes a Muhammad if they teaching the truth to the children. And you make yourself praiseworthy when you live in your higher self and get that wisdom, pass it down to the next generation. The Circle Seven, all they do is teach our children. Basically, one thing that I see in the Circle Seven, I always smile like in a way that this ain't for African Americans of today, because everything I read in there is the problems that we always talking about we got, and the answer is in the end the simplest denominator. The science of Islam is getting things to the simplest denominator. So the how the child should think and see towards their parents as as children and as masters and servants, and as how the wife and the husband, how the husband towards the kids, how the wife towards the kids, how all that in there. It's household and government. Teach you how to, because everything is levels. You got to govern your constitution. That's your body. That's health laws and stuff like that. Then you got to govern your household. Then you got to govern your community. Then you govern your region. Then your nation. And then the world. But can't skip those steps. So the Circle Seven giving us those steps all in one, but they're giving us to the simplest version where you can teach the child. And not dealing with the household, how he should honor his parents, his mother and father, and everything like that. That's why he hold that up and he tell them, I give you everything to save a nation, I'll go save yourself. And it's the smallest holy text out of all the holy texts. And when you go through that, you realize that's the one they could have had, just had that. So it's like the service of God is basically at service of the all in all, at service of everybody, service of your fellow man. Like how he earlier, I already showed you how he ended up being a man lawyer. He didn't get on a retainer and not like that. He just sees some misjustice being done and he stepped in. That's service of the all in all. If you see somebody chasing a cat, some children chasing a cat, or they do something to the cat, you stopping that is service to the cat. That's the all in all, living things, man and all living things. The announcer, the one who kind of brings us knowledge, even if the priesthood try to block you, stop your videos, throw salt on you, make bad comments, you still as the announcer. As long as you announcing us, you the witness, the bearer of good tidings, the warner, the reminder, the one who calls, and the light personified. Now that's the interesting one right here, Nor. Now that's the one where I look into and I see how they define us as black later, because they were defining Moors as black, so they were defining Nor as black in their dictionaries. And what it means, light personifies the halo again. It's the people with the knowledge personified, living it, not just preaching it and doing other things and living a whole different life. And the light giving lamp, one who teaching other people, which is the mother, basically, to the son. I am the lamp, the Messiah is the oil of life, the mother holy breath, the fire. Behold the light, and he who follow me shall not walk in the dark, but he shall have the light of life. And when he's saying this, he ain't saying this out of his selfish self. Like, he ain't saying follow me as in him, because he gone already. It's 2,000 years ago. He talking about all the lessons that we get that we know is right, represented as the mother holy breath, because she the one who's supposed to be teaching us the man at that age. He coming on to the world with all these lessons. He be the cruel judge. He ain't up being a cruel cop and this and that because he ain't even raised right. Like again, like Kwame saying, he had that mother's cooking something up. That so that's what we talking about. If you followed us, your own mother, your own father, you know what's right in your heart. That's the Messiah. He's a representative of the heart. And they brought us in Egypt. They brought us, they're supposed to raise something like this. The Egyptian ancient Moabite Canaanite woman, the Moorish woman who's supposed to get the science. Mother's holy breath and bring the light. Let me see. The light giving lamp. And show you how that's Moors. You got Moors, the light bringing. That's been a representative. You see the little red thing again. The mothers and fathers of civilization. But when you forget this and she don't know this, she liable to do anything. We seen that. We seeing money that we calling money. We don't know that these people was more create 1,000 different money forms. So you could today because you us them today, you us these people. You know, we use these terms and stuff to keep that going through our history to let us child know that you us the sons of God. Child of God. These people. And they scientists too. You learn they scientists by reading their books and stuff. So, light bringers. Let's see. Red Cape Gang. Just like the Statue of Liberty. And that's the one they would say is from Morocco. Just the one picture they would say. Other ones they might say other places. But at the same time, we all know that just means the kingdom of Allah. People who make that for themselves. Not listening to Rome, they already know how to govern. And govern over here ourselves. They create Morocco, kingdom of Allah. They're trying to take all the spookism out of all these things they're talking about on TV. Say Amaru, or Amaru with the serpent. Again, that's the third eye, the lost serpent, ancient Egypt, for the higher self, or more. Royal Lord. So you're reading them stories, he's been in Kana. So he show you how that over here. Because the same people over here, so you got the red. You see them tribes that the red kid at the beginning on the last video, I think. And then Kana, we find that's on the walls. Let's see, Taro, Phoenicia, Bedizer, Promogenitor of Yethbal. That's B and L. In the west, this one here. So I try to show y'all that we got our own thing. A lot of foreign people, a lot of people even that going to try to. I hear a lot of Moors, I hear a lot of so-called people saying, black people saying, don't try to recruit me into your stuff or your clubs and stuff like that. So that people got a thing about that. I understand that. So I try to get you to see that everything you seen is your stuff. People trying to just they they taking it, chewing them up for you, and feeding you like a baby. They're taking the steak and chewing up themselves and feeding you out their mouth. It's nasty. Trying to show you how to get the steak yourself and love it. Then you can show them how you living what they talk about every day. You am who they is talking about. See, that's that. And Brazil. Description, you find a description everywhere. Only these, I don't know what other people be talking about, but only these same people who be talking about these videos. Every time you see Hebrew, you're talking about ancient Moabite and ancient Judean and Israelite and Canaanite, because all at the same people. They just use Hebrew for all those different families because that's how they talk. They ain't right and wrong. They just put everything under one category. But no problem with as long as you know. They got them going all the way around, which they ain't had to at this time. Even way more lands and stuff that they could have gone through to get back and forth. And kingdoms and empires. Egypt, Rome, all this world part of this empire. And that's what we talk about in our history in chapter 47. You got scientists, you got archaeologists, they all know. See, I ain't draw this, somebody else know. I telling you how we see it, so we have our own way, so nobody can tell you nothing. You say, no, that's how we see it. Look Rome in the eye and confess your faith. They talk about the same river that we were talking about in the last video, in that little piece. How he was going through this river. A Mexum. Name some of the marks that were put upon the Moors of Northwest Amexem by the European nations in 1774. It's from Noble Drew Ali. Negro, black, colored, and Ethiopian. So these were the Christians been calling you. What is it meant by Negro? Negro, and then given to a river in West Africa. So and Garvey had no even too much for us because Rome done changed maps already by that time. That West Africa, this parts of this coming into this, and lands in between before the earthquake caused some of these lands to sink. He said that, and he said before the great earthquake that created the Atlantic Ocean, which they call it Ethiopian because the people been on both still been on both sides, been down there the same from ancient times to culture still been the same, like a motherfucker to Europeans. But since they think they better than everybody, they say these black people can't sail, so how? Gotta be from the slave trade. And even African American scholars and all them, they even think that the slaves bring a lot of stuff here. But they would have to bring down everything and never forget none of those things because they see all the Moorish things over here. Still, Africa, with a lot of people just can't see it. So they've been named that by Moors because we spoke Latin, we spoke Spanish, and this just been the name of the color. That right here, this color, this name, this ain't been, we ain't create the same for a people. Like I say, Rome don't. We gotta always have our own way of thinking. You can't let other people. 9 times out of 10, if you agree, if all of them think you black, if all these people, even people who supposedly hate you and you supposedly hate them, if they agree that you black, then that got something got to be wrong with that. Cause how they know you? To know your identity is to know a lot about you, to know your past, your history, your government, your languages, your spiritualities, thought forms, your philosophies, in different time periods, and different perspectives from different wars across the world. They gotta know all those things, but when they had the time to sit down, you would study that. Like, you know how long I was studying this for years, and they still only 1% into this thing for myself. So you think any one of these people would know you? But they got one thing in common that they all just call you this out of not even thinking about it on the news, on TV, and everywhere. Became a solidarity thing, but they act like they know you. They write a whole book about black people, but they don't call themselves that. How did a book apply to me from this person? This person, no matter how, even if he right, he ain't gonna tell me that. Somebody who at least being who they talking about gonna tell me at least. Not somebody from that's a stranger because it contained black water. That's why you can go look at this river today and see that it contains it look like black water. And why is it called a day? So he talking about Mexim now. It is called the River Al Niger. It travels northwest to northeast in South America. So we know that Niger is not in South America. So he been detailing it. Try to August Garvey come back and spark it because the empire was called Africa from the word of Mexican became Africa at one time. The Portuguese called it that. The early Spanish called it that, and we go through a lot of videos showing that too. So of course these Moors and uh, Marcus Garvey and Noble Charlie would know. Marcus Garvey bring that spark back into us getting back into the Africa, and Noble Charlie give us the details because he called it the Niger, and the Niger is not in South America; it's right there, Black Waters. If he wanted to tell it what he's talking about, he ain't even talking about the modern day Negro because he would have said that too. You see, that's been called Rio Al Niger, just Madeira, just the one you really talking about. And it would have been hard for him to even spend this in the 1920s without this technology that we got now. So he's still been like hard to explain it. Does Madeira go from side to side? This Madeira go. Let me see. So this Madeira River go into the tributary of the Negro and the Bronco, the White and Black River. Of Manaus. Yeah, so the Madeira River going all the way out, and the Negro. So he is right. It's Al Ne. But you know, Negro. We're gonna see that later in the video. It's just another version of this ancient Latin Rome, this ancient Rome, ancient Morocco together, two jurisdictions. Then it wouldn't be Negro, it would be Niger, like he said. This still show the old version of that term, black, the Niger River. Why he said it's northwest and northeast in South America. So he ain't really talking about how they call it a tributary to Negro, but they call it Madeira is what he talking about. Northwest, northeast to northwest. I mean northwest to northeast. Let me see. Yeah, northwest to northeast. Oh yeah, so he is talking about Al Negro. So I go into the Madeira and then come out. So yeah, the real Negro is this. In South America, using the ancient name. Real Niger, Latin. Moorish Latin that day, Al Niger. Because in Latin, we don't use the Al in the Latin that they teach us today. So there's a different version even that. As mapping O. They say, what is a Negro? A Negro is an animal that has 4 legs. So we'll never allow people to tell us we black or Negro because that's what it is to us in our teachings. So basically, your child will never let nobody call them that if they had these teachings at a young age, right? We don't play with about that. So yeah, it's showing right here, the Black and White River. And this was the Maximus empire based off river structures and stuff like that. Yeah, I talk about that in Niger. So we see got the higher self, representing the higher self, ancient Egypt empire. You see chess, and you see again Moors playing chess, and a lot of things that we pass down, saying people, they just ain't disappear. The Maya, they just ain't none of people disappear. Just here today, don't know who they is, so they don't know stuff that they used to know. Ancient Empire of Egypt, chapter 47, and everything in between. That's what we study. That includes the Israelite states, that includes the Native Americans, that includes a lot of things that they chopping up into different pieces and taking it away, creating their own black timeline and retailing it. So basically, just like this, the people who writing this are Moorish Americans who been speaking this early Latin, just like the Circle 7 is the English of truth, what we call veritas. We're using English that we're out there. Even though it's slow, they even better off putting them. It probably got them in Latin. They probably ain't giving us that version, but um, try to write English in truth. But they already mess up on the first line when they say we the people of the United States. We won't been able to use that to create a false system. Because if you read it properly, it would say we the people. Basically, we know based off how Latin is written, how the English people were speaking English, how they when they translate a lot of these Latin, how they lose the essence of the stuff when they translate them. Because in the Latin, they would say, "We the people who have united the states." It would have been hard to confuse the masses in the future if it were written like that. It would have been hard to create a quasi-federal government that do what we want to do. So nowadays they act like these people, we the people who had united the states in 1787. They act like those people disappear now, and now it's a country of immigrants, as Joe Biden would say. But you always had foreign rulers in your lifetimes. You know, Barack Obama, Kenyan American, and the other one they're using 14th Amendment quasi citizenships. Got hidden nationalities and they don't tell nobody. And these government black caucus um, using 14th Amendment privileges and civil rights instead of being themselves and getting the truth, then professing their faith before the highest courts. And that's why we suffer. That's the truth. The Constitution of 1787 for the United States of Americanos. We the people who have united the states in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice. So, see what I'm saying? You can hold people to justice if you understand the essence of what it is. Ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessing of liberty and freedom to ourselves and our prosperity, which ain't nobody want to act like don't exist no more. But this is the Moorish Americans. That's what this is because who else write these? People with nationalities who know where they've been. And the people who states these is Moors, Americanos, and they couldn't read and write, even in this English. They couldn't read and write, and they were trying to express as best in this English. Look like they are Latin speakers who try to give to the masses, the multitude who speak in a lower form of Latin, and give to them. But this is a binding document. It's how you bind the devil, how you bind Rome. Because this all constitutional law. Constitutional law means family law, means most people of the land, the law of the land. And we only use the oldest ones. Don't let them fool you when they write the word constitutional or something. That's just an ambiguous term. You'll get the original document. If you got an older one than the one that somebody else trying to use on you and say, well, he said us. Well, you get an older one and say, well, he said us. Because you come with the spirit of truth and you're going back to the mother and father of it. You did a treaty of peace of friendship what year? 1786 and 1787. And the first constitution made the same year. Them the same people. They just can't tell you that because they're having too much fun with you confused. But they already know for Reina Feliz, Carl Morocco. Even in the cartoon, they playing with you. The kingdom of Allah, your kingdom, the sons and daughters of Allah. Whatever kingdom that is on Earth or another planet, it will most likely be Morocco. If you got the understanding. They had this understanding in South Carolina in 1790. They had the true religion. These people, 8 of them, 4 of them and their wives. The resolution passed to let them know that, yeah, clarifying status of free subjects of the Sultan of Morocco, Mohammed bin Abdullah, which they ain't have to even know him or ever meet him. Even already in South Carolina and Charleston. That's just an understanding like how the church had the Pope for the earthly understanding, but this is really a kingdom within that you live in. The resolution offered the opinion that free citizens of Morocco were not subject to the laws governing blacks and slaves. So you're talking about blacks and slaves, you're talking about other people. You're talking about other people who ain't Badowskin, so don't let them play with you. Everybody been subject or citizen, which is the same term, of something. Or somebody, you subject of your grandmama rules in her household. You subject of somebody. If not, you under this term. You ain't got nobody who will cover for you. Nobody know your customs. They don't know how you think. You might think cannibalism cool. We don't know. But you ain't got nothing we can see. So you get governed under this, and they automatically get governed under certain codes. But these people who of this act been, like we already talked about that like 2 videos ago. We already showed you the one in 1824 when somebody else, Henry Rutledge, signed a declaration, and on her declaration she said the same thing. She's subject of the, she been related to a woman who's the subject of the Sultan of Morocco. So we see the generic word for God, Allah, I hope we can see this term all over America is using these tribes, right? And we can see what the tetragrammaton, like I explained earlier, about the sun, moon, the sun, the, the child, the mother giving the science. All that is the tetragrammaton, and we're talking about is Maria Amoria, and it's just feminine and masculine, and both we use in the term today as Moors. It's the term we use. Like I say when I call you a Moor, I call you a child of God. No spookism, no outside yourself. They usually decompose of Maria, Lord, yeah, Mar, yeah. So these older. Today in modern times, the Sultan of Morocco, the English translators, everybody I know what he been talking about, what he been saying when he say Moors anymore. He been talking about the young lords, the Moorish Americans at his time when he been writing those treaties. He protecting them. They more meaning saint in that church. You always go back to the MR, Lord, the one who gives command, master, mother, commander, mayor. We're gonna look into that later again. I'll make a video about that, but we look into much into a lot of these things when we just need to embody it because we know who he is. We just know he's talking about all of us. I mean, you talk about Maria, Mario meaning God and Lord. But the same thing we talk about when we mean when we say we Moors. But you know somebody gonna wanna put you on that cross and you sing that. So we fearless when we say that in these times. And you see RB, again RB, like Rabbi or Arab. We only know our modern day version of these things. So people say to me like, why are we trying to be like an Arab? So they say Allah because now we trying to be like Arab, and I just show you the ancient language, how worldwide these things is. The term Arabia just means land of nobles. Any place could be if you have a bunch of nobles there, that's the land of nobles. Why those nobles there? That's Arabian language. The Rabuta, Majesty just mean noble, Lord, same thing, RB. And Aymara, you're gonna see how you can see place names all over the place that still got these ancient um, leftovers from the different empires right in our face. But you see everybody debating each other about which one is the right way, which one is real, which one is this, and which one is bad, which one is good. We sitting here getting the signs out of everyone, all of them. So yeah, that's Moorish. At the you know. So just like in our book, we see Jesus. We see he was speaking this Aramaic. In this Aramaic, we know even Mar and more, just like Muslim misses. He just take like us to come around and explain these because they ain't gonna connect us to you because they know you's a Moor and they don't want you to call yourself that. So they ain't gonna tell you that that's just like you saying you a young lord. That's Aramaic and Syriac. Because he remember he been in Capernaum when he judged everybody in Capernaum for not feeding that man that bread. Capernaum. sites, baby name sites, good to look at because a lot of the people, when they write in the definition and try to give you the answer, they go look up and they do research, so you can go see what they research. You see Maori, remember? New Zealand Maori. Let me see. That's why we've been saying when he was in our book, he's a Jew of Jerusalem, a Judean, right? But we still say he's more Judean because his bloodline go back to the ancient Egypt and the ancient world, what they call Byzantium or the Coptic, which is the Moabite world and all that. They bring that ancient Egyptian science into the world of the biblical times of when he started to be born. So you got a bloodline, it's the Moorish bloodline, which is Ius Sanguineus, and his soil, the side of his soil, Ius Soli, in Judea. He was born in Judea, so that's like America. So he's Moorish American. We go back to that line, Moorish too. What same line you gonna do? Hey, we also were born in America. Ancient Moroccans born in America. Make us Moorish Americans. He ancient Egyptian born in America. But we know the ancient Egyptians was the lords of Egypt and Moors, Mr, the one who gave commands. So you see Mari, the Moorish Latin version of Moors. You see the English Morris, that's also mean Moorish. So you see a lot of this in North America, all over the place, names, street names, everywhere, especially dealing with black people, so-called church. Um, the Christian side also we definitely got Moorish Brown Church everywhere. I just say Moorish Moreno. Different versions around the world. Because you're coming out of empire, and that's why we say it's the Moorish Empire. We can be able to connect it to the truth. This right here, say there is no those who deny the existence of Morocco as a country before the 18th century. It is true that it has diminished since it has been reduced to the Algarve of Bavaria, the Maghreb of Bavaria, the west of North Africa, Bavaria, or whatever that is today, the modern day Bavaria. Which in those times, any place with Moors wrong would have tried to name Bavaria on their maps, especially they ain't got no information about those places. So they say in the west, Morocco, the west of Bavaria, and that's how a lot of Moors, that's how a lot of scholars and a lot of people look at history. They look at this as the Maghreb and they'll tell you they talking about the west of Bavaria. They ain't talking about Brazil. That's what they'll tell me. And I telling them that's where it get reduced to. Just like on this passage, he say Algarve, the west. That's what I mean in the Moorish Latin of Barbaria. So that's where it reduced to today. It says the head of the kingdom. That is to say, the major provinces were on the other side of the sea. So they talking about this, and they talk about this, the other side of the sea. Its main provinces and the head of the empire. She's using the term kingdom, but basically we talk about empire. Apparently we're talking about cross seas in more than one place named kingdom. That is to say, the major provinces were on the other side of the sea, mentioned by the chroniclers since the times when Islam was a great nation, which ran from the Middle East to the Indies. The Fez boat in 818 was the province of this kingdom. In the 7th century, it declined mainly due to civil strife and the constant intervention of Spain. So we got the Muli Sudom, one who working with the Dutch Brazil, with the Mauricio. And I've been trying to say he the one we got stories of him commissioning paintings to come paint some shit. They don't act like those paintings don't exist because they don't have to mention him in Dutch Brazil. Because they don't know that that's real. The head of the kingdom been on this side. And we got maps to show what approximates where these places at. Solid. Talk about that in the Inquisition books. You see, they wielded sovereignty over the whole of the American continent, but not North Africa or the rest of Africa. So every time you see the Spanish monarchs talking about fighting against Moors and stuff, they're talking about in America. Because we look, and we see that they ain't even care about the African continent today. The Portuguese did, but the Spanish they ain't care, but they've been wielding their rights over the whole of the American continent. When they talk about Africa, when they talk about Moors in Africa and all those terms, believe they talk about America. Just know that. People are lying to you. See the old Kufic language that they find in California. And Treaty of Peace of Friendship, the Moroccan American. See, they're saying it's Moorish American. And you live in Morocco if you know how to get that with them. And you know, that's why he tell you that there's a treaty between two groups of Moors because you got the Al Moroccans, you got the Moorish Empire, which was called the Kingdom of Allah or the Kingdom of God of Morocco at that time. And that's basically the 13 colonies who united their states. In this treaty, they say Americanos Estados, the American estates. They united their states. They treaty with the empire, which, like again, I believe, is still right here in this area. The easy trip. Easy trip from here to here. Get that thing signed, George. George, Weaver, John Adams, and Benjamin Franklin, and them. And bring that thing back. And then we got the title. We can go trade all over this place now. And over here. Because the head of the empire is still right there. At this time. If it wasn't, they wouldn't need to get there. I think I already talked about this. But what I want to show is how these Moors back then, but like Moorish Americans today, they ain't been no. When she did the research, she been realizing they've been people who had like the Arabic Islamic influence, what we call Muslim, what we call that today, and the Jewish and the Christian over here living in harmony for the most part before the Europeans, Focus Steel and them started cause wars, I guess, holy wars, and us losing our way. Basically, you can't really blame nobody because if you keep the right way, your kingdom ain't gonna fall. Nobody be able to rule the strangers. See, the 7 cities are pressed on. They were looking for that, so they could try to find allies, Christian allies, to fight against these other states using holy wars. Let's talk about the American kingdoms. That's the whole continent. Basically, people already running off these things. And he said some animus, which is what we do today, we spiritual, we Mother Nature, see the animus. Basically, animus, but you can find concepts of all these things in there because they live in it. They ain't really been like organized religions, they've been actually living as the angels, Red Cape Gang. Like and Lucas de Torre Alfonso say barbarian people after Marinas from beyond, which is Moros from the barbarian foreign people from beyond the seas, which is they're not talking about beyond the straits, because they can see people coming from beyond the straits with a telescope real easy. They're talking about people coming from across the Atlantic in these books. Said Daniel, a powerful Moor, Carthaginian, who called himself Mir Mamolian. So he been calling himself that. Or we could show you where America come from. America got a term for this. The American, that's how I know America, Al-Maricanos, and all that means Morocco. Because we're going to see the Byzantine, which is the Coptic Christian version of Egypt, version of this term in a minute. So he say he came to the peninsula as Aldemar. We can look up him. Now we know we're talking about Moorish American ancestors who going over there. So see right there, the Byzantine Greek, which is we know come out of the ancient Egyptian, and those Moors, and we got a lot of Moorish, we got a lot of kings of ancient America, and we got these type of names too. And early America, where we got so-called Indian chiefs, these names got this Byzantine type Egyptian Greek mixture, like this one, Amir Moniz. And the friars been coming to look for them here. They were coming here looking for these, just like they looking for the Messiah, the Prince of the Believers, the Commander of the Faith. So we got Jesus, we got Noble Trolley, we got Muhammad. All these are Amir Moniz, and we've been calling ourselves that and being that Alderman. They were going to Andalusia, come with a red cape on them boys, showing you what that mama's cooking to man, fallen man. And they get persecuted every time, still to this day. The one who try to bring the peace and the love. Mirror Mamoni, different languages. Just like Al Maricanos, you can take the Al off and make Maricanos. It's like Morocco. You see, they know that with this word, Amir Moni, Mimonis, Amir Monis, same thing as this. I know people talking about Moors, but they call themselves Native American. They say, well, you just call yourself a Moor again. It's a Moorish prince. And a mayor, a Moorish prince. Go all the way back to Egypt, ancient Egypt. MR, the one who gave commands. Saudi dynasty. And just like this bailiwick, this early colonial English on the colony. Talking about usually in the when you say something that's Turkish, but they showing you on the colony. Words and languages ain't stationary, ain't where our modern maps say is, because they got the same word. God, let them say for yourself. They get the truth. You see, talking about Sharif in the bailiwicks on a colony. I might try to tell you to beat the people out of Americanos. They can, even if they speak English, they still know the old things. The way they've been governing, so they have to have knowledge of these things to govern. Once they start taking these things for granted, like we do today, not caring, it don't matter if I call myself a moral, okay? Then we'll just keep suffering. Because you would never go look up the things that I looking up. You know where to go. It's Maryland, Baltimore. You look at the days. It's America, Mercian, and a lot of our money. The last few groups of money that we used here before the dollar take over in our mind. Been Morristown, we've been the Canary, and the Maravidas, the same ones we be using in Andalusia that been used here. Ain't nobody got no evidence of no other money used here. That's why I be saying this Moorish American, this is the land of Moors, because nobody else can show me, nobody else even operating it. You ain't even have no money, may dude. You ain't have no ports. You ain't have no ports of trade. You ain't got no treaty to show that you run everything like a South of Morocco. Giving permissions. You gotta be running it to give permission. Just like the BIA give the Indians rights and stuff. Because he's saying he the boss. God give it and God take it. So nobody can give a more nothing, a more American nothing, because they don't own nothing. A recognition to use my own ports. That don't make sense. I want to know what's already filed our authority for record purposes and plant the flag. He ain't have to ask for nothing. He's telling them what it is. And the Knights of Columbus or DC ain't did nothing. They couldn't. We gotta get back to understanding that for ourselves. And y'all wouldn't let Rome get me. Right now, y'all let Rome get me because we all jealous and envy. We ain't got our heart and our mind right. But in those times, Rome can't get them in Morocco because they would have money Moors coming in defense. Like we just finished reading the Bill a week. That's the same as this. Like when people say we're using the Turkish word, we're using this by to show you in early America, on your tribe or your colony, you still been using everything Moorish. Who else had colonies and set up kingdoms and shit? The people in the penal colonies, our presidents on the penal colonies set up, they couldn't even read and write, right? Literacy rate been high in colonies, right? So you've been ruling. Men like her, they did. They lose their nationalities and stuff. But they still been holding on to what they had know because they had a lot of knowledge of themselves. Mother Holy Breath. They didn't start get put in these wild conversion schools that we get put in today. They learn civics and stuff in the house. The military council, regular meeting, city council, Charleston, the aldermen. Which all come from Andalusia, turn like Alpha Moor, elder man, elder. Our elder's supposed to be in government. And the Black Caucus supposed to be that. But those black Romans are insane. They need to be there though. Because they'll keep them from destroying us. They feeding us to them slow poison. But why them people wouldn't legislate Jim Crow laws like that no more? They just codify it as much as possible. There's a problem. Because slow poison might be worse. I really you just come to clear that wall. Let's fight, get it over it. Start a slow poison me and my children. Beat outside for generations instead of just get it over. Let's fight this day out. If that's what it is, don't acting like that's not what it is. On one hand, let me see. They tried us with them in the past. The yellow peril, you see, they try to make them like apes, lesser man, like I said earlier, primitive children, wards, man, beings who possess special powers, um, superstitions, but they resisted at that time. They resisted through international law, so they keep the human rights and within the United States, within that realm. Even to this day, they use terms that connect them to the human nation, the human family, and not terms that don't connect them to the human family at all. So they got easy grounds for suing. Hard for us to sue because we calling ourselves black. And they can do anything they want to the word. They can propagandize it and feed it back to our children and make us lose our spirituality and our higher self. You see, they were trying to do that to them. Just the same thing they do with the rap music is paint your character, national character. I can listen to it and it wouldn't fit me because they got understanding of the grand scheme of things. I can hear the music. I can see the Allah and the most roughest so-called gangster, so-called child in the hood that I call the Morarias, like they did in Andalusia. And he'll try to bring that out of him before I feed him to the room, because that's my child. And the roughest part that you can get me, I can look at doctors inside. Matter of fact, that happened today. I walk in the store, so-called black-owned business, and they always angry for some reason. I guess they get that while cooking. Holy rap. Because I can y'all get that from my video. They always smile at that. And I always in the midst of it all. But, the way she had talked to me at first, um, been rude, real rude, and like she didn't feel like being bothered. But it's a restaurant. I said, what is we supposed to be? Like, how could, like, what customers doing wrong? If you upset that you shouldn't be, still shouldn't reflect that you goodness. But anyway, I retaliate with her being aggressive and rude and loud. I reversed it and I talked to her in the Allah, the child, and I, um, yes ma'am, and yeah, she'd tell me move over here for the flies, move by the door, something like that, for the you letting the flies in and something like that. And, oh yes ma'am, I bad. Then that's when she ready to come back and see what my order been about, cause I had order on the phone. So she she come back a different person to me. You see what I'm saying? So I was saying that that's all we need right there. You talk to people like that. She probably ain't get talked to like that all day. That's why she probably like that angry. You probably tired of people. But you know, look them boy in their soul in the eye and speak through the heart. Just act like they're just speaking to a person and help them with their day by being the opposite. Don't be rude back, you know, with the wrong, they too wrong, they can make it wrong, but you know, like the saying go, kill it with kindness. People really must say those things no more. That shit all mothers cooking, but anyway, you see these people been getting legally enslaved in the early United States when they were going under the yellow thing. But they, you know, they fixed that now. So when we come back, we're gonna deal with Morocco and America and why that just the kingdom of Allah and Jerusalem are any other story where you got these prophets, they just doing the same thing, try to bring the kingdom of God to the people. Will start from within and then realize without they fit to govern now. They fit to be the leaders in everything now. Politics, doctors, teachers, they go out teach the world now because they enlightened. Based off because they got a goddamn heart now that their mama give them. Like when you again just walking down the street, you ain't say good evening, good um, yes ma'am or no ma'am. You ain't doing that. Your mama respect and say, hey, say good evening next time you walk past that old person. That's our religion. All right, it ain't not spooky. It's just that. That's why you see the people who call themselves Moorish America and in America that they don't matter how much they try to demonize us on things, you don't never see us in no stories us killing each other and robbing and stealing. We've taken the murder rate to zero in the nation that we confess. No matter how much videos you see on YouTube and things about us, it's 10 times more that you don't see and hear about. Remember that because a lot of people, everybody ain't on YouTube. You only see 0.00001% of the Moorish Americans. If you're looking on YouTube just for that. But one thing you don't see, cause I guarantee you, Americans do gun shootouts and clouds and innocent people. You would hear about that, and it would make sure that this been a member of a temple or something. They don't do that to no other people, but they always try to do that to us. That's how I know they don't want you to be the. They they don't. Everybody who do crimes and stuff, they're a member of some family, some church, some synagogue, some mosque, some something. They don't connect them to that when they commit heinous crimes or commit crimes. Except for more Americans, when they say that, they act like that's part of the story headline, but that'll never be for nobody else. That's how you gotta know, look at wrong, watch them. Wherever they try their best to get you to not like, most likely you should look into. Because they insane with that reversal shit. Anyway, let's start right there, then we get into some words. We get into this word, going back, bring them through time, bring them through all the world, and take the spookism out of all these things, because people are so spooky. So stop.